California is facing another year of drought and record-breaking heat.
Time to go. It's okay.
Thousands of fires have already burned through millions of acres in 2021. But even as these conditions destroy homes and spur evacuations, they also throw the state's ecosystems and the lives of its animals into chaos.
He is not doing well. Poor guy.
These animals' stories are a window into the weird workings of a warming planet. They showcase the kind of empathy we're all going to need to survive climate change and reveal a complicated truth. Humans are creating threats to California's animals. And yet, we're also often their only hope when disaster strikes.
There they go.
Oh! So where do you go when your whole world is burning down around you? What happens to animals in a wildfire? We're here in California during what seems to be another never-ending wildfire season.
In July, Death Valley recorded the highest temperature ever reliably measured on planet Earth. These bone-dry landscapes are ready to ignite, and wildlife is being driven from their homes.
A wildlife rescue just took in its first wildfire burn victim of the year.
If you read enough about wildlife and wildfires, there's one name that will keep popping up: Dr. Jamie Payton.
Dr. Payton is the chief of integrative medicine service at the UC Davis Veterinary Hospital. She's also the associate director at the university's Center for Advancing Pain Relief. All to say, when it comes to patching up animals, she's a force of nature.
Today, we were working on one of the burned bobcats who was from the lava fire. And he came to us with injured feet and very thin and with a low red blood cell count. Every animal that we take care of has an amazing story, and it is always a story of survival. These animals go through immense terror and really bad injuries. And so with the bobcat, they came across him when they were doing some of the evacuations.
Dr. Payton is an expert on treating fire-related injuries, but maybe she's best known for her innovative use of fish bandages, sterilized tilapia skins used to heal fire-damaged hides and paws. Skin grafts and other treatments used on burned humans are simply too expensive to use on animals.
I started looking at alternatives and came across tilapia. One, because it's very inexpensive, and two, because we know that it has a high level of collagen that can help with that wound healing. From there, we've treated over 13 different species, and we've seen a lot of success not only with the wound healing, but more specifically with the pain control.
Would you ever use tilapia skin to treat fish?
That is a really good question. So we actually have treated a very lovely koi fish that had an injury. It is always a concern that, an animal will eat the skin. But the nice thing about the tilapia bandages is if they eat it, it's just a protein snack, really. When we look at bandages, typical bandages, if an animal eats them, they can cause an obstruction in their intestines. It's a really serious thing. Animals really lick and bite at things that hurt them. When you take away that hurt, they stop. When we put the tilapia bandage on their feet, they leave it alone because it stops hurting.
Watch that one paw, Dana.
We're about to use a method on Lava Bob, if we can actually get him sedated.
Tail is still a wagging.
Yeah, so it takes a few minutes.
After some preparation and washing up, it's finally time to glue some fish onto a cat.
We're gonna do tilapia to try to help with healing and help with pain on these open areas that are on the toes. This is the tilapia skin. As you can see, we rehydrate it from the storage solution that it's in. You can see how beautiful, this is actually where the pattern of the fish itself. I always say it looks kind of like a cool tattoo. So what we're doing now is basically cutting it to fit. So it is really like quilting. Oh, that looks beautiful. One cat toe down.
One down, 9 to go.
That's Dr. Eric Johnson. He's not only Jamie's partner in the operating room, he's also her husband.
Well,
It's okay. It's
I'm
fine.
out of hands.
Do you want me to hold it?
No, not that close.
I mean, I could, yeah.
Ooh, getting into the action. Getting into the action there, girl.
Bring the action.
Do you want me to hold this right here?
And we'll hold it on there and let it set for a minute and hope that you don't stick yourself to the bobcat, because that's just a really awkward situation for everyone.
Yeah.
Look great.
Yeah, we're good.
Looks really good. And see, so then now it becomes like his fake skin, right? So it's going to be on those wounds and it'll be his artificial skin. So it covers it, protects it, and helps it heal. The most common animals that come in with wildfire injuries are actually our carnivores. So our bears, mountain lions, bobcats, these animals tend to run away from the fires, or the bears will climb the trees. So some of them will escape, but they'll burn their paws. Wildlife can escape like they used to. And most of these fires are caused by humans. They're not naturally occurring as they used to be.
Wildfires are a regular part of some ecosystems. In fact, there are some species that even need these fires to survive.
Like the lodgepole pines, whose cones are sealed with a resin. The seal melts in wildfires to release its seeds so new trees can grow.
When we look at wildlife, in the past, when the fires have been smaller, we know that the wildlife was able to escape, but now that we're seeing a change where it's not a small fire anymore, these are large-scale, multiple-acre fires. And what's happening is these animals are fleeing.
But with climate change making it even hotter and drier, the resilience of these animals is being put to the test.
They're in a panic state. So either the fire catches up with them and they don't make it, or as wildlife is trying to escape, if they hit a wall of people or fire trucks or other people coming in, they'll turn back and run back into the fire.
Once they're hurt, it's not like they can just call and set up an office visit. Sometimes wounded wildlife is spotted by locals, or a limping creature is caught on camera traps in burnt-over areas. Sadly, some animals just aren't found in time, or the extent of their injuries is just too severe.
There are times where you have to make that tough call, and I will tell you, it is heartbreaking. We did have a bear where he had so much damage to his feet that even if we got him healed up, he would never be successfully released. He would never be a functional bear again. And we had to make the very hard call that, in fairness to him, it wasn't okay to put him through that kind of treatment. We stopped his suffering. And that's a huge thing too.
But often these animal tales have happier endings, thanks to tilapia.
Like Lava Bob. He might not be thrilled to be here, but he's one of the lucky ones.
What we see is these animals becoming wild again. You know, we get frustrated because they're harder to catch, they're chewing at their bandages, but that's what we want to see because they're improving, they're feeling better. And that is the most rewarding part, seeing those animals really become who they are and getting ready to go back to their home. You are such a weirdo. I know, showing everyone how he's eating.
It's just showing off.
People say to me, why spend all that time and why, put so much effort and energy and caring into one animal? And I think to myself, well, because I can make a difference to that one animal. And that one animal can go back to that environment and play a significant role. And this is even more crucial for areas that have endangered or threatened species.
California is the most biodiverse state in the U.S., with over 49 million acres of protected lands.
But that biodiversity is at risk. At least hundreds of California species are threatened or endangered.
And for species on the brink, a single fire event can be disastrous.
The California condor is the most endangered bird in the United States to begin with. In the 1980s, there was 22 birds left.
That's Michelle Hawkins. I know the name works. She directs the California Raptor Center, which provides medical care and rehabilitation for injured birds of prey.
A number of veterinarians, as well as biologists that work with the condors, captured all of the remaining condors from the wild and brought them into captivity for captive breeding. And so since that time, now the population in the wild is about 350 animals.
It wasn't wildfires that originally decimated these condors. The culprit was lead poisoning.
Like zombies, these birds live on a strict diet of corpses.
Dead animals are literally all they can eat, and lead ammo left in carcasses by hunters slowly killed most of them off.
They don't hunt for themselves. They don't have the same feet as other raptors do because they don't kill their own prey. And unfortunately, they were scavenging on carcasses that had been shot with lead bullets.
Ecologists and indigenous groups like the Yurok tribe have been working hard to restore these iconic avians to the wild. But wildfires have become a serious threat to the shaky population.
Last year during the Dolan fire, we know we lost 11 California condors. And that was one of the biggest blows we've had to the population in a long time now.
As fires worsen, condors might not return to flocks and nesting sites. Maybe they won't be able to find food. Or their chicks, who can't flee, could get wiped out. Just because they're birds doesn't mean survival is as easy as flying away.
Yes, a lot of them will fly away. Now, unfortunately, some of them, if they fly over a big hot spot, that heat will actually singe their feathers and they won't be able to fly and they'll become injured.
People have made assumptions that the birds can fly away. And the more that we're looking, the more we're finding out that that's not always the case, especially when these fires come through in the dead of night. I feel like I'm living in hell right now. Things have changed dramatically just in the last 6 to 7 years in the state of California and also Oregon and Washington now. We're a tinderbox. Things as very, very small as a spark from a car can start one of these massive fires.
Pacific Gas and Electric says their equipment may have started the Dixie Fire that's burning right now in Northern California.
Human actions are often what makes the threat from wildfires so severe in the first place. Cigarette butts, campfires, and those explosive gender reveal parties can often be the first spark of a big blaze.
One couple faces 20 years behind bars after their gender reveal allegedly sparked a fire that killed a firefighter.
And then there's land development, turning once untouched spaces into residential areas or farmlands.
So Grasshopper is a Swainson's hawk. This is a species that is threatened here in the state of California because of urban development, and we're tearing down the trees where they breed.
Oh.
It's the breeze. He's like, ooh, that feels good. That's why I keep my eye on him, because I knew that was getting ready to happen.
Oh.
And he's panting right now because of the heat. Yeah.
Is that because we went in the sun and he's like?
That is because the birds can't sweat. That's part of how they dissipate their heat. And so with the drought, it's become a bit dire for this species to begin with. We're worrying that there's less prey, therefore they're not going to have as successful a breeding year, but also now they're breeding right in the middle of the California fires.
Already facing shrinking habitats, animals have nowhere to go when the flames rise up around them. Nowhere to go, that is, except into our garbage cans, swimming pools, and shopping mall parking lots, searching for refuge, food, and water.
A bear doesn't understand between someone's house that has great food in it and trying to find food on their own, because if the house has great food, they're gonna do it.
Which means humans and animals are running into each other a lot more often. And that increases the risk to both people and animals. But there are other California critters even less welcome at summer parties than bears. Other critters also driven by heat and hunger into the company of humans.
He sees me. Oh my God, he's about to just shoot out. He knows. Len, why are they so hyped up right now?
Glad to see me.
My name is Len Ramirez. I'm the owner of Ramirez Rattlesnake Removal. I've been removing rattlesnakes professionally since 1985 throughout the state of California. And what I do is I remove rattlesnakes that are threatening on estates, ranches, state parks, any place there's a need for a service. Siri, who's the best rattlesnake removal company in North America?
I found this on the web.
Romeris Rattlesnake Removal, #1.
California is home to at least 7 species of rattlers, which are the state's only venomous snakes.
Well, rattlesnakes are very dangerous. I hear of a lot of dogs being bitten each year. In fact, up to date, I've seen 38 dogs killed, 2 horses, 4 ponies, and llama in Northern California. It's a real problem.
These reptiles generally want nothing to do with people, but you know how humans are, always waggling our fingers in other species' business. And accidents happen, with bites causing serious pain, injury, and in rare cases, even death.
Rattlesnake encounters with people is becoming more and more common. This has been a banner year for rattlesnakes, whether it be due to the drought-like conditions, the previous fires, the heavier rains from years back affecting all prolific breeders, more vegetation, more rodents. Rattlesnake removal.
Is this Len?
Yeah, this is Len speaking. Go ahead, please.
We've got a rattlesnake sunning itself on our back porch.
Okay, I'm happy to be of service. Actually, we could probably be there in about 10 minutes.
It's in the
You
back.
have reached your destination.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We are here. Make this problem go away for you?
Oh, yeah. So this is the second time here.
Is that right?
He's right on the pallets up there.
Wow. And just like that, he's wrangled again.
We've definitely had more rattlesnakes in certain areas that didn't have them before. And that's really interesting because, again, it goes back to, are there survivors? And then what are those survivor animals eating? And if they can't eat in those environments, then they have to move somewhere else. And so we're seeing shifts in wildlife populations.
Everything is disrupted. Everybody is looking for a meal or a place to get out of the sun or obtain water. It is a real problem for wildlife. I feel bad for wildlife.
Beyond the bumper crop of snakes, the recent fires have also impacted Len more personally.
Just recently, July 8th, I was working in Napa and we got the dreaded phone call that my garage was on fire. The fire incinerated my garage. I lost my prized Dodge Viper and all my tools for over 20 years, and bikes and paddleboard and chainsaws, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm toolless right now. There's been an interruption in my life right now. But I'm still working every day.
But the snake room is still intact.
Yes, the snake room is still intact. Nobody was harmed.
Though Len catches and relocates more than 1,500 snakes every year, he claims he's never killed a single one.
This guy, do you know his story?
Yeah, this snake right here, it came out of a backyard underneath some play school equipment. This rattlesnake, I remember, was on the side of a house. Well, I don't have anything against snakes. I'm actually into conservation, and somebody has to be on their side. This is my payback to society for all my mess ups as a kid. Wrangling rattlesnakes. Best job in the world.
The snakes are lucky to have Len around. And while humans do their part to save animals, sometimes animals are the ones saving us.
To help fight fires, cities across California are turning to the professionals. Professional goats. Their business? Eating stuff. And business is booming.
Unless something's wrong with them, I've never met a goat that doesn't eat. I mean, their job is to eat, so it's a pretty sweet job. They're very good at it.
Bianca Suarez is a 4th-generation sheep rancher and the project manager for Star Creek Land Stewards.
We're doing fire prevention grazing, so fire grazing that's being done to help protect these local communities from a fire. We deploy the animals in herds, typically sizes of about 400, although I have 800 behind me. This one is all goats. Sometimes we do mixes of sheep and goats or just sheep. If we don't graze it and we don't cut it, it's going to burn. Those are the only options.
See, one of the things making California fires so bad is the fact that humans actually prevent so many fires. I know it sounds weird, but by not letting smaller, natural wildfires burn through the state's overgrowth and dry brush, it just piles up. All that built-up debris means fires that do break through have the necessary fuel to run absolutely wild. So managing the buildup is essential.
We bring them out to graze the fuel ladder. So grasses would be the lowest of the fuel ladder, then you'd have brush, and then you would have trees. by bringing in these kinds of animals, they're gonna eat up the grass, the brush, and even the lower hanging trees, so that if a fire were to start, it would not be able to carry up into the canopy, which is when they are the most dangerous and spread the most. So it's not always that it stops the fire, it's more that it slows it to give the firefighters a chance to come in and control it. We're gonna hold them here for a second and then we'll...
Is that your goat call?
Yeah, it used to be the call that you could do to let them know that the water was there. We work with private homeowners, private ranch owners, regional parks, city parks, school districts, private schools, fire districts, government agencies, cities.
So when you open that gate, they're just like, to the long grass.
They're like food. Yeah. They think there's grass that way, but there isn't. They already ate it all. When we come back this way and they see that gate opening, then they're gonna take off.
So they're just gonna be like, oh, we ran all that way, but the grass is actually over there. Yeah. Oh my God, it's like going in an empty fridge.
Exactly.
Goats are being used for fire prevention all over the world, chewing the scenery in places like Ireland, Spain, Portugal, and Canada. Sure, in California, the sheer concentration of Teslas and solar panels might have you thinking that climate change is localized to the state, but the weird weather and wildfires are getting worse everywhere.
It's not just California. We're seeing in Oregon, Washington, Colorado in the US, but also looking at South America and the Amazon and Australia and now Turkey. You know, all these places are having fires that are unprecedented.
After the recent bushfire crisis, which burned through millions of acres and killed around 1 billion animals, Dr. Payton was brought in to rehabilitate marsupials like koalas and kangaroos.
I recognized that we needed to do something when we went to Australia during the 2020 fires, seeing the need for us to really step up and take responsibility for the wildlife.
That's when Dr. Payton and her husband created the Wildlife Disaster Network.
The Wildlife Disaster Network was a kind of an idea that came to me after working with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife for several years. And it really took off, unfortunately, because we had so many fires that year and we had a huge need. But it also showed that there is a place for this type of network and there is a need. What we've seen with wildfires is there is funding for dogs and cats and for livestock especially, but currently there is no funding for Department of Fish and Wildlife to care for these burned animals. There's no funding for us to do this, and we are relying solely on donor support. Our network is reaching out to encompass veterinarians, biologists, first responders, as well as the public, creating a true network to help these animals. And you will see that these animals become stories of survival. They really rely on us. They're our responsibility, and we have to take responsibility for what we're doing.